lasagna in this pan, and I want to figure out how much it's going to cost me. What do the ingredients cost? How much can I sell it for? What's going to be my profit? So I'm adding about probably 2 tablespoons of salt in this big pot of water. It's about a gallon of water in here. And then I add oil. I'm adding olive oil. It's an extra virgin olive oil. You could probably use something a little less expensive, but this is all I have. But if you use corn oil or sunflower oil or something like that, it'll be a little less expensive. And the reason you want to use oil, some kind of oil in the water, is because these noodles will stick together. When you're layering the noodles into the pan, while the other noodles are sitting there waiting for their turn, they will end up sticking together, and that's why you want to use some oil in the water there. And these noodles are going to be cooked al dente because they're going to cook a little bit in the oven. They'll absorb some of the liquid from the tomato sauce, so you don't need to cook them until they're totally tender. I'm going to pull these noodles out of the boiling water and put them in the cold water to just stop the cooking process. Since they are going to be colder, and since the noodles will be cooler, they'll be easier to handle as well. So I'm going to mix cottage cheese with spinach, with a can of spinach. Where I got this idea to use cottage cheese is actually from my mother. She used cottage cheese every time she made lasagna, and every time I see a recipe for lasagna, it always calls for ricotta cheese. So I thought I'd try ricotta cheese, and to be quite honest, it really didn't come out as good as I wanted it to. I'm going to add a little bit of garlic powder also to the spinach and cottage cheese mixture. And one thing I forgot to tell you is you have to drain the spinach. In the jar, in the can, it always has a lot of juices, so you want to make sure that you drain as much as you can. And you just mix the spinach with the cottage cheese. If you don't like cottage cheese, that's too bad. You're going to have to use this recipe as it is. You cannot change it. You cannot alter it. Do not change recipes. It's against the law. And this is the granulated garlic. I've got these Impossible burgers. I'm going to fry them and put them in the lasagna. And they're a good size for a burger. I'll do 4 of these. So I added salt, pepper. Another product I'd like to add to the lasagna is an oven roasted broccoli and cauliflower. I thought it might save me just a little bit of time. Sometimes you only want a small amount, and this kind of fits the bill. I want to get a little bit of a crust on the burger, and then I'll add the onions. So here we have the zucchini, we have the yellow squash, we have the broccoli and the cauliflower, and I'm going to broil those for about 10 minutes. Okay, the onions look pretty good right now. They're nice and golden brown. I'm going to add the ground beef. It's not beef, it's Impossible Burger, but it tastes like beef. I'm going to add that, mix that up. The sauce I'm going to use is Prego. It's the less expensive brand, and what we're trying to accomplish here with this recipe is we want to create the most amount of lasagna spending the least amount of money. The ounces are 67 ounces. And we're going to let that simmer for a little bit. And I know there's a lot of recipes out there on the internet, on YouTube, and they use veal, and they use lamb, and they use beef and pork and sausage, but like I said, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a lasagna that people will be happy with, that we don't spend a lot of money, and we can sell it for less, people will have something to eat, and we can still make a pretty good profit. The sauce is getting thicker. I've been having it simmer for maybe 30 minutes. Let me show you the cheeses that I'm going to be using in this lasagna. We have the mozzarella. This is a Great Value brand, which is Walmart's brand. The second bag of cheese that I brought for the lasagna is the Fiesta blend. There's another cheese that I want to bring over, and that is your traditional Parmesan cheese. Again, it's the Great Value brand. We really don't want to spend a lot of money. And at the end of this video, I will tell you exactly what it cost to make this pan of lasagna. The pans I can use, look at this pan. This pan is the traditional 13 by 9-inch pan. We're not going to use that one. The next size up is what you might call a turkey roaster. This is something you might use for Thanksgiving, and it's a little deeper than a traditional 9 by 13-inch pan. This pan that I have here, this black pan, it's excellent for making lasagna, but what I'm going to do, it's kind of loud, isn't it? And one of the things that I hate about these pans is it's hard to get your hand underneath the handle sometimes when it's super hot. But this pan here, this is about twice the size of a 13 by 9-inch pan. It's not as thick, it doesn't have as much depth to it, but the pan is 13 by 21 inches, and that's the one that we're going to be using. Okay, the meat sauce is ready, and I need to get the roasted vegetables out of the oven. And those look pretty good, actually. Okay, I guess we're ready to layer this pan of all of our ingredients. I've got the mozzarella here, the Fiesta blend, which kind of is a taco flavored cheese, something you find in a lot of the Mexican style cooking. Here's your Parmesan cheese. We've got our noodles here. We've got our sauce, which has tomatoes. It has the Impossible Burger, and it has the sauteed onions. In this bowl, you have your cottage cheese with your spinach combination, and then this bowl here is your sauteed vegetables or roasted vegetables, and all of it looks fantastic. So let's get started. What we want to do is we want to lay a couple of, I did oil the pan first, just to be on the safe side. I'm going to add a little sauce down on the bottom of the pan, just to get the keep the noodles from sticking to the pan. Maybe let's do about 4 spoonfuls. And I pulled it right off the stove, so it's still very hot. I just pulled it off the stove. And I have this knife here in case I need to cut some of the noodles down to size, because as you can see, they are pretty long. But I'm going to do this first. We're going to lay a couple here. I did use 2 boxes of noodles. 1 box wasn't going to be enough, so I cooked up some more noodles, some more lasagna noodles. So we have 5 on the bottom layer going this way, and I'm going to cut a little off the top, not much, maybe an inch or 2 off the top, so we can lay these this way. I almost think you don't even need to cut them. They may do well just like that. I may not have to cut them, so let's do it like this. We want it to layer over the top of that. I think 3 going this direction is good. We add more sauce. We add more of the vegetarian meat sauce. Next, I'm going to do a little mozzarella cheese. Now, cheese goes a lot further than you think. You don't need to add a lot of cheese. A little bit goes a long way. Next, I want to add a little Parmesan, just for that Parmesan flavor. I've seen a lot of cooking videos on YouTube, and whenever I see cooking videos on YouTube of Italian cooking, it seems like the people always use just a small amount of Parmesan cheese. And I did use oil when I cooked these noodles, so you can see they're not sticking together. If you don't put oil in the pan, they're going to stick together, and that's not very enjoyable. It's better to have leftover noodles or leftover sauce than to not have enough. The next layer I'm going to do is the cottage cheese layer. I'm going to use all of it. You just want 1 layer of this beautiful white and green cheese mixture. Now, if you haven't tried cottage cheese and spinach, I'm telling you, it is delicious. And as I have said before, I tried ricotta cheese and it's just not the same. The thing about cottage cheese is the chunks of cheese will stay in their original shape. They don't get mushed over or mashed over. They don't get smushed. And if you can get the large curd, actually it's better. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little Parmesan on top. When this is ready, we're going to pop it in the oven and bake it at 350 degrees for about an hour. We're going to add some more noodles. We'll lay 5 straight across. When you cook a lasagna in a 13 by 9 inch pan, I have found the ideal number of noodles is about 13 or 14 noodles. I know the box has more than 13. The box usually has, let me put this aside. The box usually has about 17 or 18 noodles in a box. So one box is more than enough for a 9 by 13 inch pan. Next thing I want to do is the vegetables. I cut them kind of small. I want them in bite sizes. I don't want big chunks. I just want little chunks. So I'm going to add some of this cheese here on top of this layer here. I worked in a restaurant in Dallas, Texas. It was one of the most well-known restaurants, Italian restaurants in Dallas, Texas. And I found out from the owner of that restaurant that lasagna is it had one of the highest profit margins. We're going to lay 5 noodles down, and we have a little more sauce left. We have a lot of sauce left, to be honest. Now I'm going to add one more layer, one more noodle. I have a couple left, and as I said, I did use 2 boxes of lasagna noodles, and I think that's going to be enough for this layer here. I'm going to do a couple more going this direction. Now what I have left over is 3 noodles. 1, 2, 3. What do I do with them? Let's lay them on top. Why waste them? We'll lay them like that. And as you see, all the noodles are completely finished. 2 boxes of noodles. The last thing I'm going to do is add the sauce. Add some more sauce to the top. And as I said, we're going to bake this in the oven for 350 degrees for about an hour. So we're going to add the rest of the mozzarella cheese. I might want to get some more mozzarella cheese. I said a little bit goes a long way, but like I said, I really do want to get a nice amount of cheese on top. And as you can see, we've used up almost the whole bag of this mozzarella. So we got a little tiny bit left, not much. And then the other one, the Fiesta blend, I think we used about half of it. Parmesan cheese does not have much moisture in it, and it can burn easily. So keep your eye open for that. Now the mozzarella or the Parmesan is finished. And all we got to do is pop this baby in the oven for an hour at 350 degrees. One of the things you want to do is you want to make sure that there's nothing hanging over the edge. And as you can see, the lasagna is pretty well down. It doesn't go over the sides, so we don't have to worry about it flowing over and burning on the bottom of the oven. This lasagna has been in the oven for 45 minutes. If I put it back in the oven and put the broiler on, the top part will get a little more golden brown. This pan is a 13-inch by 21-inch pan. These can typically serve 25 portions of lasagna. If larger portions are desired, the pan will yield fewer servings. If lasagna is part of a larger meal with sides and other courses, smaller portions may be served, increasing the number of servings per pan. All right, this is the final product before cutting. I just pulled it out of the oven. It's been broiling for 5 minutes, and it smells delicious. I did want to show you the size of a 13 by 9 inch pan. So a 13 by 9, this larger pan makes a little more than twice the amount that a 13 by 9 inch pan will give you. I want to get 15 pieces. And in order to get 15 pieces, I need to cut 5 lines going across and 2 lines going this way. So let me start by trying to figure out exactly where. Let me cut it here. Okay.
Okay, that was a little sloppy, I have to admit. Now I need to cut 5 lines going this way, up and down. I said 5 lines, I meant 4 lines. But there'll be 5 pieces going across. And what this does is it gives you pieces that are 4 inches by 4 inches. My hand's about 4 inches, so that's roughly 4 by 4. And those are pretty large slices of lasagna. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to freeze this lasagna, and then later, once it's more firm, I can separate everything, put them in serving containers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sheet of parchment paper and I'm going to wedge it in between and I'm going to push it all the way down. So now you know what I'm doing. So that way they won't stick together when they freeze. And I'll admit, this may be the stupidest idea I've ever come up with. So all the lasagna is portioned, and I'm going to put this in my freezer and let it freeze up a little bit. Okay, so I ended up freezing the lasagna. As you can see, it's frozen. And it's about 4 inches. So it's 4 inches by 4 inches. And I bought some to-go boxes, and I want to see what it's going to look like inside the pan. Let's start with this one here, because I want to find out how much I can sell these for. So if I put one lasagna here inside, it's a comfortable fit. It looks good. It's presentable. I also have larger containers, and I do believe that I can put 2 slices of lasagna in this, and I can sell that as well. I haven't priced everything right at this point, but we will get into that as we go. Now I do have these smaller boxes here. They're a little bit smaller than these here. And we'll pop one in. Let me pop this one in here. And I think to be honest, that would be a nice meal. If you have a salad, a piece of bread or something like that, maybe a glass of wine. Now the problem is it kind of sticks up over the side, so I'm not going to be able to use these flat lids. That's one of the problems, I already can tell. So I will have to use something similar to this with a lid. Now this will have to be thawed out before you cook it, or you could take it out of the oven, you could take it out of the freezer, set it in your refrigerator for a day. It'll thaw out, and then you can pop this in the microwave. These containers are actually microwavable safe. So out of that whole pan that I made, there were 15 pieces. As you can see, there's 13 here. I've got 6 on this tray. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I ate 1 portion yesterday. My father also ate 1 portion. Now we're going to get to the breakdown of the pricing of everything. Okay, as I went along, I put the prices of all the ingredients that I used, and after adding everything up, it comes out to $42.32. This lasagna is 4 inches by 4 inches, and I did weigh this out. It weighs 1 pound and 4 ounces, so a little over 1 pound. That's a lot of food. Now when you look at it, it really doesn't look like much, but 1 pound of lasagna, it will get you full. It'll fill you up. And as I said before, when I put the lasagna in these small boxes, the height of the lasagna higher than the container. So what I need to do is sell these in boxes like this. Let me show you. Now, as you can see, I've got 2 lasagnas in one box, and the lid will fit over here perfectly. And if you divide $42.32 by 15, you're going to get $2.82. These boxes cost 22 cents. These larger boxes, they cost 38 cents with the lid. So we're looking at about $3 for one of these. A lasagna in here, $3. And if I mark it up to $8, that's a $5 profit. And if I sell these are $3 a piece with the box included, roughly, give or take. And if I sell this for $16, I've made $10 profit right there. I have eaten a couple slices, one yesterday and one today, and what I have found is you don't really notice the Impossible Burger as much in this lasagna because I didn't use that much. And I really have to be honest and say, if I didn't put the Impossible Burger in the lasagna, I don't think I would miss it because it has so many vegetables. So let's subtract the Impossible Burger, which I remember was $9.52. If we subtract it, the total of the 15 lasagna pieces was going to be $32.80. If you divide that by 15, it's going to come out to $2.19. In a box like this would be about $2.50. And again, you could probably still sell it for $8, and people would be happy buying that. And as I said, you could make quite a bit of money. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and I will catch you guys on another video, or you'll catch me on another video. Have a good evening, have a good morning, or have a good afternoon.